Good morning. Nice to be here. Thank you, Robin, for the introduction. And Amina, so I will try to go a little bit further into the, elaborate a bit more on what Robin has mentioned about our capabilities with Starlink. I'll go over some of the trends, some of the lessons and key learnings that we have from last year, from our customers and projects we've been working on. And to wrap up, I'll try to give a glimpse onto what we can expect the remainder of this year. I'll try to leave some time at the end so we can have some Q&A and get into a more interactive part of the session. So to start with, I'm from Blue Wireless, as mentioned by Amina. We are colleagues of Com4. We're part of the same group of Wireless Logic. And Blue Wireless is specifically focusing on Starlink and managing the portfolio of our managed Starlink services. So we've seen that satellite has moved from a niche market to really mainstream enterprise with the growth of LEO technology. Starlink originally launched its first satellite in 2019. And since then, they've launched now approximately 10,000 satellites into orbit with the ambition to grow to 40,000. So it's a massive capacity expansion. SpaceX has about 14,000 employees, mainly US-based, and that's the power of the model that they work through partners like us as authorized resellers to meet the requirements of local businesses in region, as Com4 does in the Nordics. So Starlink has more than doubled their customer base from 2024 to 2025. So we're seeing a massive adoption of Starlink across all sectors, as I'll go through the slides with you. And they are anticipating this year to do an initial public offering, to go public, and it has a potential to be the largest IPO in history. Okay, so what do we provide? Fundamentally, what we're providing is internet access, internet connectivity, public internet. So the big trend that we have been seeing already for some time, for 15 years it started, 15 years ago, is the mass transformation from private MPLS infrastructure to public internet. The main two drivers for that are improved resiliency, having different underlying technologies for the underlay for internet from different technologies. So having multiple paths at individual sites, as well as a cost driver of reducing costs from a private network environment to a public internet. This transition has been taking some time. These companies are traditionally slow in moving to these, making these massive transformations. About 4 years ago, the MPLS was still the biggest piece of the pie. But last year, for the first time, internet became a larger proportion of the base. Here I show some examples of technologies where we see that Starlink is either complementary or replacing. Coincidentally, last week I had a customer that touched on two of these technologies. So it's a customer, a production manufacturing plant that's currently using GEO or VSAT, and they were looking to move to either OneWeb or a Starlink. So you see OneWeb, both OneWeb and GEO mentioned. So the advantage of Starlink over GEO is lower latency, lower cost on higher data usage, and higher speeds. And versus OneWeb, Starlink is more competitive. So in the end, this particular customer chose for Starlink. There are other technologies that Starlink has potential to replace. One being wireless microwave. For microwave, you need to have it's expensive to maintain towers, and the signal degrades over distance. So we've seen customers also transitioning from microwave to a Starlink. There are alternative LEOs. Obviously, the one that has been making a lot of noise in the market is Project Cowper, which is now named Amazon Leo. So Amazon Leo is expected to come into the market this year, predominantly more on the US centric and Western Europe. So Starlink still is very far ahead of them in terms of having the scale and the global coverage. And then there are the other technologies like fixed wireless access, which is cellular-based technology, also wireless but cellular-based. Cellular for remote areas may not have a good coverage, may not get the speeds. In certain areas they have congestion. So in those kind of scenarios, we have seen customers. Blue Wireless also offers fixed wireless access, but we have had a couple of customers where the fixed wireless access wasn't quite performing, and they asked to upgrade to Starlink. And then the other one is fiber. Obviously, fiber is not available everywhere, and so where fiber is not reaching, Starlink is an ideal alternative. So we're seeing, like I mentioned, large adoption in the market of Starlink. Gartner is predicting that LEO market will grow to 14.8 billion this year. Two big drivers are enterprise adoption, and Europe is the second largest market for Starlink. The first being the US, so the US is their largest market, and Europe is their second largest market. So UK, Germany, and France are leading in Europe in terms of Starlink adoption. So the largest pain point that we're solving with Starlink is the high cost of failure. So the really high visibility outages for production plants, multi-site customers. The cost of outages are significant. So it's been coined as the €1 million outage, or the €1 million hour. And so, the way to address it is to plan for resiliency and having resiliency in your network. So here you see a few studies that have shown the kind of cost that can escalate with these outages. There's a study that stated that the top 500 global firms had a 1.5 trillion annual cost for these outages. So how do we solve that problem? We solve it through network resiliency and combining multiple technologies at a given site with multiple links. A combination of terrestrial and wireless. So in the terrestrial space, you've got dedicated internet access, which is symmetric, fully guaranteed connectivity. You also have broadband, which is asymmetric, shared contented services. And then you've got your wireless options, which can be fixed wireless access, cellular-based, or a Starlink satellite-based. So with this combination of different underlying technologies for the underlay, you can improve the resiliency of the site. So in a nutshell, what we have seen in the last year in terms of our customer base, as you can see, the typical kind of customer that we are supporting are multi-site projects. So companies with 50 sites and above, they tend to be large enterprise customers. Typical type of sites are warehouses, logistics sites, that tend to be remote, outside metro areas, outside urban areas, manufacturing plants, factories, production plants. Those are typically the kind of sites where they're incorporating backup resiliency networks, needing secondary, tertiary links, as I mentioned, using multiple technologies, incorporating satellite. So last year, these are the kind of customers that we've been addressing. As I mentioned, this large enterprise in remote areas. You see here the flags, which are the countries where we have the largest demand. So these are customers where we have delivered. The US is our largest market, so they're a big fan of Starlink in the US. About 40% of our install base is US based. And it's followed by Europe. We've got a lot of demand in, again, the UK, Germany, France. But we're seeing strong growth in both Brazil and Australia. In Australia this year, we're going to be growing very fast. And as you can see, we see it across all sectors. So all industry sectors are incorporating Starlink into their network strategy. So similar to Robin, I've got two examples, two case studies. So Robin gave an example of an extreme installation in extreme environment installation in Antarctica. I've got two case studies. One is a manufacturing example, a case study of manufacturing, where the customer has 250 sites in over 30 countries. They were already a Starlink user, so they had already purchased directly through the website, but they wanted to scale it. So when you, as Robin mentioned, when you move from a single site to a multi-site deployment, that's where the complexity comes in, and that's where they wanted to move to a managed solution from us. So with that, we were able to transition from their legacy environment, which had a lower speeds. So we were able to offer a higher speed using Starlink, and take over the management of as a managed service. This is a second case study. This case study is for mining. In this case, there's a specific capability that we have built, which we call bonding. So bonding enables you to connect multiple antennas to one router, to one management device, so that it acts as one service. And so that enables you to have higher throughput. In this case, the mining company was a very large mining setup with 1,500 staff. They were actually using the Starlink for welfare, for miners' entertainment. And so we connected, as I mentioned, nine antennas on one device to act as one service. So now diving into what are the building blocks of a managed service. So Starlink, if you get the box. So this is the Starlink kit, and it comes to you in a box. So yeah, then you need to install it, configure it, get it operational. And if you have a multi-site deployment, then that means that it's not one standard deployment across your entire estate. Every site will have a different configuration, a different hardware setup. So what we do is we convert it into a managed service. By converting to a managed service, we do the installation on site. In fact, we do 2 site visits. So one is to do a site survey to identify the requirements to do the installation, and then we come back to do the actual installation on a second visit. In this way, you have a standard deployment methodology across all your estates. You have the same hardware deployment across all estates. We add, as Robin mentioned, the cradle point as the management device. And from the cradle point, we're able to offer a few things. One is monitoring portal to track the performance of the circuit. We're able to insert SIM cards in the cradle point to offer you fixed wireless access as a backup. And as Robin mentioned, we can offer public static IPs, which do not come from Starlink Direct. So again, we're able to integrate 5G LTE fixed wireless access as a backup to the Starlink. So this is comparing the single circuit of Starlink in a box versus a managed service. But you can imagine the complexity, as I mentioned, increases when you expand that over a multiple site deployment, multiple countries. That's where the real power of the model comes in for the managed service, that you get one harmonious deployment worldwide. So you don't have different accounts per country, you don't have to use different credit cards per country, you don't just have to order on a portal and get support on a portal. You get an account manager, it's all under one invoice, and we give you visibility through the portal. So we've got 4 different plans. It's the main difference being the antenna. So we've got the enterprise antenna with GML Lite. And then for the GML and GML Plus, we have the high performance antenna. And then for the portable plan, we have the mini antenna. So yeah, the expected speeds for the high performance antenna are 200 meg down. Having said that, we're seeing with the capacity expansion or the addition of satellites by Starlink, we're actually seeing much higher speeds. So we're seeing customers hitting the 300 meg down, 400 meg down. But in terms of a standardized portfolio, in terms of a global portfolio, we sell it based on expectation of 200 meg down. But again, we're seeing already today higher speeds. So in terms of what we anticipate for the remainder of this year, well, we expect more countries to be added and we expect higher speeds. So Starlink is continuously adding new countries. So they added 35 new countries last year. They're getting approvals to open up new countries almost on a daily basis. So we're expecting more countries will be added this year. And in terms of the higher speeds expected this year, Starlink is launching the new version 3 satellites. And with these new version 3 satellites, they're expecting to see to be able to offer speeds up to 1 gig download. And that will be really a game changer. So then we're really going to be seeing Starlink being a serious alternative to even terrestrial broadband options.